Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here, and welcome back to another season rundown of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Once again, we'll be going down through the season. I'll be giving out my thoughts on the episode. This time we're doing season 3. Everyone's favorite season. Before I get started, I want to talk about some things. Namely, yes, I do know that season 7 is out. I am aware. No, I have not seen it yet. I've said in previous videos, I don't watch the new episodes until way after everyone else does for certain reasons. So chances are I'm going to say something in this video like, I don't know, I'll probably say something like, oh, I don't like the fact that Twilight Sparkle is purple. And then you guys might say, well, Shady, in season 7 they actually turned Twilight yellow. Or, yeah, I don't like it either, and they're still doing it in season 7. Let's just try to leave comments like that out of the comment section until, like, I get a chance to actually see season 7, because I don't want spoilers. And yeah, I probably won't even get to do a season rundown of season 7 until way down the line. So yeah, anyway, that's enough for season 7. Let's talk about the season you all came here for, season 3. Go ahead and get started with the first 2 episodes, the Crystal Empire. This is when Twilight and company, you know, the main 7, they're asked to help defend the Crystal Empire from, first they have to solve the mystery of the Crystal Empire, and then they have to help defend it from the new villain, Sombra. And it's revealed that this empire is the one that Princess Cadance rules over. Now, this one, I'm going to say it's a really good season opener, but at the same time, I can only put it as something I like. It's not my favorite season opener. The parts that I do really like about it are, well, let's start with where I usually start, the songs. I do like, I don't really like the first part of Prepare for This, because Spike singing in that isn't the best. I don't know. I just didn't like Spike's part. Twilight's part was fun, but I didn't like Spark. The second part was really good. You know, all the main 6 get a singing role, and I've said before I love it when that happens. And speaking of which, the other song, I can't remember the name of it, but you know, so we have to get this right. Yes, we have to wait and see, or something like that. I'm pretty sure I just got the lyrics wrong, but yeah, I really do enjoy that song. That's another song with good characterization. Shows all the main 6. How they all tackle this problem. They have to get the festival going for the Crystal Empire, and each one of them sees a specific thing they want to focus on. And part of my mind thinks, oh yeah, this ceremony just happened to have something that they all chose to focus on, or that is relevant to their interest. But another part of me is saying, no, they all just found something that was relevant to their interest. You know, they all look into that book, and Pinkie just happens to say, oh, there's a flugelhorn, or so. You know, they probably just skipped the other parts that they didn't really find interest in. All right, now it's time to talk about Spike again. Spike was really good in this episode. I love how, and when I say Spike is good, I'm not necessarily saying that he himself was awesome. I mean, how they treated Spike, how they treat his character was really good in this thing. I believe it was Silverglow who made the argument that Spike is the loyalist to Twilight, to the fact that he will break rules to help her. And that's certainly true. You know, Twilight was specifically told no one could help her throughout this task. And Spike, it's not like he wanted to be a hero for himself, but he just wanted to be there in case she did need help. And I could go on and on about how I think that's who Spike is and whatnot, but I've said this before, so I'm going to keep it brief. But yeah, that's an essential part of Spike's character, that he wants to help Twilight. And I like that his biggest fear was Twilight not needing him. Love that part. Sombra. Sombra is probably people's least favorite villain, because he's just a traditional villain with nothing really new. He's just I'm evil for the sake of being evil. I have a mysterious background. And while I can understand people's criticisms of that, I actually like the traditional villains, the ones that don't necessarily have that complex of a backstory. I'm not going to say I like him the best. I'm not going to say he's my favorite villain, but like I like him more than Chrysalis, to be honest with you. And even though he has absolutely no personality, he's just evil. I like that. I've said this before. I like cliches. If you can do them, if I feel you've done them correctly, I do like cliches. And I like Sombra as the cliche. I didn't need a complicated backstory for him. I didn't need a reason for him to be evil. If they were going to give me a reason, then yeah, it needs to be a good one. But I didn't need a reason for that. So overall, oh, let's also talk about, because Cadence. I didn't really talk about Cadence last season, and that was her first appearance. Cadence becomes a more prominent thing. And I feel a certain way about Cadence, but it didn't start in this episode. When I first heard about Cadence, like, I just really didn't care about Cadence. You know, I didn't dislike her, and I didn't like her. People have brought on the complaints that Cadence is just, she's another character who's just too perfect, you know? Say, in the same sense as Celestia is, but in a distinctively different way. I think whereas both of these princesses are viewed as perfect, we've seen Celestia's problems. We've seen that what she had to deal with her sister and whatnot. Cadence doesn't seem to have problems, and I agree with that. Cadence doesn't. This is the high point of Cadence's career in the show, her role in the show, in that she spent days keeping that shield up and worked to save the day. But from this point on, I feel it's downhill for Cadence's character. A lot of people rely on this episode to justify Cadence, saying, well, remember in the Crystal Empire how she worked so hard to keep the Empire safe. And I say, yeah, but what has she done since? What has she done since that? That's really been relevant to a princess. And there is an episode, I think it's in season 5. It might be in season 6. But there is an upcoming episode where Cadence just gets on my nerves. You know what? I'm going to save that for then. I'm going to save that for when we get to that episode. But for right now, I do want to say that I don't really like Cadence. She's my least favorite princess, to the point that I dislike her character. And in this episode, after this episode, it starts to go downhill. This episode is her high point. I kind of feel like Cadence in Shining Armor, like, I'm speculating now. If you have evidence that completely disproves this, fine, go ahead, present it. But I feel like Cadence and Shining Armor were afterthoughts to the show. Like DHX had something, they had this story going on, and Hasbro was like, yo, we need some toys to sell. And they threw in Cadence and Shining Armor, because that's what it feels like. Like, they're in the Crystal Empire, a completely separate place from the rest of Equestria. And there is this perfect utopia full of crystal ponies. You know, it's just a marketplace. No, I'm sorry, that was the wrong description. It's just a marketing thing going on there. That's what it feels like to me. I have my likes for the characters, certain things about them. I'm perfectly fine with Cadence being a perfect, flawless princess. It's just certain aspects that will eventually come out will make that into a negative thing. I've always said perfect characters do have their place. And, you know, Cadence is the closest thing Twilight has to an older sister. So her being like this flawless character, I'm fine with. Anyway, dealing with this episode, I like it. It's not my favorite of the openers, of the season openers, but I like it. It's good. It does its job. Episode 3, Too Many Pinkie Pies. This is when Pinkie uses the mirror pull to make multiple versions of herself, so that she doesn't have to choose which activity she wants to go to. A very memorable episode. It's not an episode that I'm going to say I liked a lot. I mean, I did like it, but not too much. The most memorable thing that stands out to me is the whole Gen 1 face that Pinkie pulls off. Other than that, there's not much I can say about this episode other than summarizing up the moral of it and whatnot. So it didn't really do too much for me. Episode 4, One Bad Apple. This is where Babseed begins bullying the CMC. Babseed, Apple Bloom's cousin. She comes down and the CMC try to be nice to her and whatnot. And she immediately gets bullied by Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, and to avoid that from happening, she starts bullying the CMC. This was I really like this episode for one specific reason. The song. You probably noticed by now, I have a weakness for MLP songs. This one, even though I've been told that it's all over the place with the animation, because Apple Bloom will be singing and Sweetie Belle's voice will come out. I guess they have the same singing actresses or something. And it's just all over the place. But when I first heard this song, I was just jamming. And somebody told me, like, the tone doesn't work because it's a very negative tone about them being bullied. And they're just, like, rocking out to it. But because of that one song, I do like the episode a lot. The episode itself, besides that song, is very cringy to me because it's kind of clear what's going on, and they have this obvious solution. Hey, let's tell somebody, you know. And if you've ever seen any bullying show, you know, you can tell. My shades are crooked. You can tell what's gonna happen. Yeah, you can tell where the moral is gonna go. You know, and I like that the CMC stood up to bullying, and it was interesting to see, you know, the CMC were obviously doing what you do to bullies. You stand up to them, or you just ignore them, you know, if they're not actually doing anything, you just mock and you just ignore them, they'll go away, and Babs didn't even think to do that. Anyway, you know, I like the episode because of the song, but if I were to take the song out, it would be a meh episode. Probably towards the negative, man. Episode 5, Magic Duel. This is when Trixie returns, and she's more powerful, and she's slowly turning more evil. I like this episode. I like what it adds to the lore, you know, about the limits of a unicorn. Because there were a lot of tricks that even Twilight couldn't pull because she had been studying magic long enough, even though she's supposed to be considered, at least at this point in time, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful unicorns. But, you know, that I believe that amulet gave Trixie the power of an alicorn, which is why I make such a big deal about powers and how an alicorn is supposed to be more powerful than a unicorn. You know, the show has made it pretty clear that alicorns are supposed to be more powerful. So I don't know why in recent seasons they're going back on that. But anyway, overall it was interesting. I like the moral of using your head rather than using your power, but I think they could have done it better. I think this is going to fall somewhere between the meh and the like meter. Because I did like the episode, but nothing too memorable for me. Episode 6, Sleepless in Ponyville. This episode is about Scootaloo. During this camping trip, Scootaloo wants to try to convince Rainbow Dash to be her big sister. But when Rainbow Dash tells a scary story, Scootaloo becomes scared to the point that she doesn't really want to go to sleep because she has nightmares and whatnot. I like this episode. And parts that I really like, Luna makes an appearance in this episode. I like that Luna starts developing this role of helping the younger ponies, which we'll see throughout later seasons as well. I believe this is the first episode where she does it, where she starts helping out the younger ponies. It adds to her character as, you know, the failure princess, trying to talk to those who can easily fall into just mistakes in general. B, it says a lot about the continuity, because if you remember in Luna's first episode, the one with Nightmare Night, I can't remember what it's called, a younger pony came up to her and asked her if she could come back, you know, and that's something that can stick with a person. So to see Luna helping out a kid, I think it adds to her character a lot. I also like I think that's it. My brain's going numb right now. There are some parts that keep me from revisiting this episode, because, as I said before, when there's an obvious solution and the character just doesn't do it, you know, just speak up, say you're scared, or tell somebody or whatnot. But at the same time, I can understand, because Scootaloo was specifically trying to impress Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash doesn't seem like the kind of person who would be impressed by you being scared. She seemed like somebody who would laugh at you if you were scared. Good episode. More meh for me than anything. Episode 7, Wonderbolts Academy. This is where Rainbow Dash finally becomes a recruit for the Wonderbolts, but she's teamed up with this new pony whose name is escaping me right now. And the pony is somewhat better than her, but at the same time is more reckless than her. This episode is, I would say this, I feel more negative about this episode than anything because of how the military place is portrayed. Now, I'm not a military person myself, but when I think about the military, you know, I think about these strictly disciplined people. And not to cast any stereotypes or anything, but you know, the military go through some hardcore stuff, and to see this pony who's mouthing off and getting rewarded for it, maybe that's how it is in the military. I don't know. Again, I'm not in the military, but it was disappointing to see that, you know, she's not getting disciplined when her drill sergeant comes up to her and says, "Try me." Like, I can't see that happening in the military. I don't know. And it was just really annoying to see this person who had no control for how do I explain this? She had no control for these urges that she had to better herself. You know, bettering yourself is a good thing, yeah, but there's a line you don't cross, which I guess is what the episode is about. So I guess I shouldn't really be complaining too much about it, but it made it annoying to watch for me. So that's that. Not really too much of a positive view on it. Episode 8, Just for Sidekicks. Another Spike episode. This is when Spike volunteers to babysit the main six's pets while they go to the Crystal Empire. One thing I do like about this episode is it's a perspective episode. It's when something happens to characters, you see it from one perspective, and then later you can see it from another perspective. I love stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why I actually like the game Sonic 06. That was the first game I ever seen to have a story, the same story from different perspectives. But that's about the only thing I like about this episode. They do the same mistakes that they do with Spike. They just randomly give him these negative traits that he's never had in other episodes, and we're just supposed to watch him fail because of that. And it's just so annoying. It comes across as the staff not liking Spike, rather than Spike just being a not likable character. So that's all I got. That's all for that one. It is a thing. Episode 9, Apple Family Reunion. This is when Applejack becomes a new organizer for the Apple Family Reunion. And she takes it too far because she's so, she doesn't realize that the point of a family reunion is the family reunion, to reunite with your family. And she focuses too much on the actual tasks. I can understand that about Applejack. A lot of people like the song Raises Barn. I don't really care for that song at all. I can certainly sympathize with Applejack. I love the part where she's a freaking baby, man. That part was adorable. Not too much to say other than that. It was a good episode. It had its moments. It was cringy, very cringy, but not to the point where I would think too negatively about it. Episode 10, Spike at Your Service. Another Spike episode. And another one where they... Oh, I hit my... Ow. Another one where they just drop the ball on Spike. Because, you know, this one... I said before, they should focus on Spike wanting to help people. And that's what this episode focuses on. Applejack saves Spike's life, and because of his dragon code, he says that he's going to serve Applejack for life. But they drop... There is so much wrong with this, okay? 1, Applejack saves Spike's life. How many times have the main 6 saved his life? How many times? And this is the one time where he brings up Dragon Code. 2, Dragon Code. Where in the mess did that come from? Why do dragons have a code? This makes no sense. Why would selfish creatures have a code like that? And 3, Spike may be a dragon, but he knows nothing about his heritage. We have established that. We have established that Spike knows nothing about his heritage. So what does he mean? dragon codes are important to dragons. The other ponies don't know anything about dragons. Yet Twilight says, you know how important dragon codes are to dragons? No, you know next to nothing about dragons. You have said this. And finally, why does Spike become useless? Why? He has been nothing but a servant his whole life. He's been serving Twilight since the beginning. He's her #1 assistant. He knows how to do these things. Why has he suddenly become incompetent when Applejack needs him? It makes no sense whatsoever. At all. This was just a bad episode, period. Just Episode 11. Keep calm and flutter on. This is when Discord makes his return. What's that princess name? Celestia comes to ask Fluttershy if she will help reform Discord. Now clearly, this is a ploy because the MLP community loved Discord and the writers wanted to bring him back. And I like that they did bring him back because Discord is such a fun character. I was questioning when this episode first came out on whether or not they should turn him into a good guy, because I like the fun part of Discord is his mischievous nature. Is that you don't know what he's capable of doing, and as a good guy, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with that. But we'll get to those episodes when we get to those episodes. As for this episode, it's alright. I mean, I've heard some of the problems. You know, Fluttershy basically endangered the entire planet just to be nice to Discord. But here's the thing I have an issue with. Discord says he'll fix the farm if Fluttershy promises to never use her element on him. And Fluttershy agrees. Then he just freezes the farm. Why couldn't Fluttershy still use her element? He didn't hold up his end of the bargain. Now, I don't remember the exact wording like I did in Over a Barrel, but from my memory, like, Discord agreed to do something if Fluttershy agreed to do this. But Discord broke his part of the agreement. So why couldn't Fluttershy use her element? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you would think he would have fixed the farm and then gone on to do something else chaotic and said, no, you agreed that if I fix that one thing, you would never do it. Or something like that. Like, I don't understand that. But it's overall a meh episode. I like Discord, but the episode itself didn't do too much for me. Episode 12, Games Ponies Play. This is the other part of Just for Sidekicks, where the main 6 go to the Crystal Empire, and the reason that they're there is because they want to impress this representative who's coming for the Equestria Games. This is the first mention of the Equestria Games that we hear, unless they briefly mentioned it before, but this is the first episode centered around it. There's going to be plenty of episodes in later seasons. And they want to impress this Empress. Now, there were a lot of things in this episode that I liked, but my overall opinion of the episode is very negative. And the reason for that is because the lady who went there, the judge lady, she went there and she didn't get her greeting because they mistook the other pony for her. And they showed the other pony the time of her life, and then they later found out it was the wrong pony, and Miss Harshwini and the imposter pony met up with each other. And Miss Harshwini was like, I hope that's her name, Miss Harshwini, because I'm going to keep calling her that. Miss Harshwini was like, you guys, I got the worst treatment possible ever, but this person who isn't a representative told me you showed her a wonderful time, so it's an unbiased point of view. No, it isn't, because they thought she was you. You got the authentic version. You were seen as just a regular pony. You got the real version. They shouldn't know that. That makes no sense at all. That she would say that she would feel that way. It makes absolutely no sense. And this is the start of my negative feelings towards Cadence, because Cadence comes onto the scene and her job is to look pretty and smile. which is what this show has been against it. Now for the record, I don't have a problem with the traditional look pretty and smile princess. But the problem is the show tries to establish that princesses are more than just looking pretty and smile. And Cadison's job in this episode is just that, while the main 6 are running around doing the hard work. Like, it feels so much like she's delegating everything. And it's not a problem in this episode alone. It is not. It's when I look back upon all the different things that Cadence has done, this is the start of a huge problem with her character. So, yeah. Overall, very negative about this episode because it makes no sense. It just makes no sense. And finally, episode 13. I would say that this is the most influential and controversial episode of the series. Magical Mystery Cure. I'm sure you're all wondering, which side of the fence am I on? For those of you who don't remember, this is when Twilight accidentally casts a spell that switches her friends' destinies. She finds out that all of her friends have each other's cutie marks, and she remembers that she casted a spell. She didn't know what it did, and she realized that must have been the spell. And then at the end of the episode, she fixes it, and she becomes an alicorn and a princess at the same time. So, do I, Shady Doorags, hate the fact that Twilight Sparkle became a princess? Or do I love the fact that Twilight Sparkle became a princess? Well, neither. Oh, troll face. I don't hate Princess Twilight, and I don't love Princess Twilight. But here's the thing. This is where I feel MLP changed dramatically. The show dramatically changed. I described it before. I said that the newer seasons feel like Dragon Ball Z, and the older seasons feel like Dragon Ball. After this episode, I feel we're starting Dragon Ball Z territory. And I like aspects of both. I like certain aspects of the simpler, older version of My Little Pony, where it was more slice of life. But I also like certain aspects of the newer version of My Little Pony, where they're taking things a bit more seriously. So, I'm going to say overall, I like that Twilight became a princess. And the reason I say overall is because I think it's better for a show or anything literally speaking to take a risk like they did here, to go with this kind of change. And I think overall, because if they hadn't done this, we would have gotten more of the old version of the show, which again, I said, is good. It has its good aspect, but then I would have never experienced the new type of stuff. And for all I know, we could be on like season 7 of Slice of Life MLP, and I'd just be sitting there bored thinking I wish they would have changed it up somehow. So the show is bringing in constant changes that try to keep it fresh, and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Objectively, is it better? No, I don't think so. But I don't think it's objectively worse either. I think it has its pros, and I think it has its cons. If you liked the old stuff more, I can certainly see your point. One thing that did tick me off, though, was my CDO kicked in, and freaking 2 Earth Ponies, 2 Pegasi, 1 Unicorn. Oh, that's annoying. That is freaking annoying. Now then, the episode itself. I love this episode. Can you guess why? Can you guess why? So many songs. songs. Really, there's only 2 songs that I really enjoy about this episode, and that's What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me. That's like one of my all-time favorite songs. And I'm pretty sure A True True Friend is my all-time favorite song. Now remember, I love the songs where all the main 6 get singing roles. I do love that. And songs where their personalities are distinguished. Now, A True True Friend doesn't really distinguish their personalities too much. It does for some of them. Like, Rarity's is very different from everybody else's. But Rainbow Dash's and Fluttershy's are very similar. But yeah, the song, whenever I think about this episode, I think about the songs. And I really, really do love the songs in this episode. So I want to say this is actually one of my favorites of the series, just because of the song. I know there are people who separate their feelings from the show, from the episode with the feelings from the songs. I don't. I do not. I consider the song part of the episode, so I don't separate the two. So I think that's all I have to say about the season finale. It's not my favorite season finale. It is not my favorite season finale. Is it my favorite season finale? Actually, it might be my favorite season finale. Yeah, I think this is my favorite season finale. Oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. Oh, jeez. I feel revolutionized now because I didn't realize it was actually my favorite. Yeah, this is my favorite season finale. Good for me, Shady. Anyway, the season overall, how do I feel about this season? Well, mainly I focus on the last episode. You know, this was a really short season, half the size of the other seasons. But whenever I think about season 3, I can only think about Magical Mystery Cure. So mainly my feelings for Magical Mystery Cure relate to my feelings toward the season. And it's because I love that episode so much, I really do love this season. At least more than I do the seasons that came before it. And I know that's not really a fair assessment, but these aren't really my objective thoughts. These are my subjective thoughts. Objectively, it was shorter. But that's not that big of a deal for me because I don't like the show that much anyway. And I probably feel objectively the same, about the same way as season 2, because there were just a lot of where I was meh, you know, not too much strong feelings. But because I'm so heavily focused on that season finale and where that takes place, you know, I feel a lot more positive about this season than I do season 2. You clicked the dislike button, didn't you? So that wraps up this season rundown. Season 3 is done. Next time we will be dealing with Season 4. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What you thought about this season, what you thought about certain episodes, and what you thought about this particular video, whether you liked it or not, and if you want to see more types of these videos. I will see you guys in the next one. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen.